everything we've done up until now just feels like a warm up, like we've just been preparing for this moment. Really excited to have all of you with us. It's been a crazy wild journey, and as most of you saw in the video that I put out, the secret weapon has been the Donn. That's Donn with two N's, by the way. And I'm sure most of you saw the background on how I met Donn and how that all came to be, but just to give you a brief overview of just how powerful it's been for me, I was literally just a completely different person only a few years ago. It wasn't like I was 30 years old at the time, so it wasn't like I just progressively, grew into, personal development and became the person I am today. It was literally like a 180-degree shift in one moment that I shared with Donn 3 years ago. So a lot of you, I'm sure, have been on maybe a similar path as me with personal development. By the time I had met Donn, I had already done a good 15 years. We're talking like hundreds of thousands of dollars I spent on all sorts of coaches and seminars and all sorts of programs, not to mention everything I could get my hands on in the different religions and spirituality. I did journeys with shamans in Mexico, like just anything I could to completely shift the problems that I had at that time in my life, and none of it worked. So by the time I had come to meet with Donn, I was just so ready. Like no one could have stopped me. I was gonna make sure that I did whatever it took to make that shift in my life. His background I'll let him share, of course, most of it, but over 40 years he's been working with people from all walks of life. We're talking even penitentiaries and like murderers and like every walk of life that you could imagine. He's worked with and shifted completely. So I got a couple of people on the call that I want to bring out actually to share their experience as well. Most of you have heard mine by now if you watched the video that we put out introducing this call. So let's start with Nicholas. I see him up there. Nicholas, if you could come on the call and share what your experience has been and your journey with Donn behind the scenes, that'd be awesome.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm still admitting people while I share here. So either way,
Okay.
it's cool that you're sharing this because it's just been such a blessing in my life as well. I've known Donn since 2021, and I've always been the type of person who searched for answers to things and to push myself to become better. And so what happened is when I worked with Donn, there was just a complete and total transformation of how I saw the world from what was not possible, and then just surrendered of my ego, essentially my limited self. And I've done a ton of personal development and courses and growth work, and I thought it was a good place, a great place. But soon to find out after working with Donn, I really was only operating at 40% of my true capacity. And Donn was able to pinpoint exactly what was the one piece that was holding me back from leveling up. And because of a deep rooted operating system that he helped me release, I didn't even know it was there. He found it and he pulled it out in a 2 hour session, and it made a lot of sense on the session because it was tied to literally everything I've created in my life. And it was the base of why my life was the way it was. And ever since that session, it felt like I dropped a whole person, really. And I'm in this state of knowingness that everything is possible and nothing can ever hold me back. I have complete power and creational ability. Everything's just amplified, and there's just this feeling of total freedom and like unlimitedness. Like I just feel unlimited. Like I was working at 40%, which I felt was at the time was 100% before, but now I'm really at like 120%, and it's continuing to move up. So this process of living in your power and your divinity is something that Donn is just so gifted at being able to bring out of people, and he brought it out of me, and I'm just so grateful. And I support his work, I endorse his work, and I really hope you enjoy it also. So
That's awesome, Nicholas. Thanks for sharing, buddy. Yeah, this really hard to put into words. Definitely. The one word that we did come up with is ineffable, which means it's so good that you can't put it into words. That's the word. But I just want to encourage you, like, I was just a few years ago, just so, done a lot of things from the outside looking in. It looked like I was successful, but inside I was just a complete mess. I had all sorts of addictions. I wouldn't have called myself an alcoholic at the time, but I was definitely an alcoholic. Anything I could get my hands on to get myself out of that deep-rooted pain that I just had no idea how to deal with and how to solve. Didn't even realize, because to me it just seemed like it was normal because everyone else seemed to have the same program running. So yeah, the encouragement I have for you is just how fast and how drastically things can shift. I've multiple times I've fallen off over the years with Donn, and I've gotten so far away that it was like it seemed like I needed decades of personal development work to actually be in a healthy place. And I would come to Donn and just tell him what was going on and have all these stories, and literally like within 8 minutes it would all be gone. And I'm like, damn, for weeks I've been holding on to this thinking it was like gonna be with me forever. And so it's just so simple what he does. He guides you through a series of questions, and he really just shows you the truth of things, which I'll be honest with you, at first can be hard to digest, especially if you've been living in this total different false identity that you consider to be yourself at this moment. It can be hard to digest how just different it is. So anyway, I want to bring up one more person, and then I'm going to bring up Donn. Don't want to waste any more time. Actually, so Josh and I, as you know, we've known each other for years. So the very first weekend that I worked with Donn back in April 2020, we were in Vancouver, and of course just had massive radical shift. And immediately Josh was one of those guys that I called, because we were like brothers, and I just said, Josh, man, you need to meet this guy. You need to experience this. So the very next weekend he was like, all right, let's do this. Didn't know what he was getting himself into. There was about a group of 8 of us, and I'll let Josh share, but I remember just how both of us were struggling so much in all areas, but definitely financial. And obviously that's what has mostly brought all of us together, is this financial world. And we were both struggling financially. Like no matter how much money we made, it was all just falling, between our fingertips. And I remember a moment in that group with Josh and Donn, and Donn was right confronting Josh, and Josh is like, I can't hold on to the gold. It just keeps falling, it keeps falling. I can't hold on to it. And Donn did his magic, whatever, to help him shift it. And, next thing you know, over the next year, I just saw Josh completely shift everything, but especially financially. So Josh, if you could share, from your perspective and point of view of what happened, your journey with Donn, that'd be awesome, man.
Yeah, so thanks, Jamie, again for having me here. But there's so much to talk about regarding my process with him, so I'll try to leave it as short as possible. But I guess the best place to start is myself as well. Since the age of 15, 16 years old, I've always been super intrigued to the spiritual side of life. And like Jamie, I tried this, that, and everything, and nothing would ever seem to click. So that was, again, before I met Donn. But you, Jamie, mentioning us coming down to the coast to meet him also brought up a story of what happened. So as you guys meet Donn, you'll understand how everything like this intertwines. But at the time when we went and met Donn, we were going to Vancouver, Canada, and my buddy and myself were driving like 5 hours away, and we were living up at a ski hill. And the morning, it was like May, June as well, so it was like spring, summer. And that morning, we got up at 4 or 5 a.m. to drive down to Vancouver. And no exaggeration, it literally snowed a good foot, 2 feet of snow. So that was a trial where it's like, whoa, can we even make it here? We had a small car with no winter tires, and it was like driving through a blizzard and dark sky. But again, as you guys meet Donn, you'll understand how events like that are all intertwined with the process and the end goal of what Donn teaches. So that's the first story. And then actually getting into my process and what happened with Donn. So again, Jamie mentioned the gold nugget story. And myself personally, I've never really been an addict or addicted to anything substance-wise, but it's more so I've been in the investment space since I was 17, 18 years old. And prior to Donn, my investment space, the graph would be go good for 6 months, 12 months, and then I'd boom, lose all my money. So I kept repeating that cycle, repeating that cycle, repeating that cycle. And then Donn, through his process and that cycle, he had a great process of how and why I would always lose that money. And then carrying on, after I met Donn, we were so blown away by Donn's results that we got Donn to come back to our hometown and meet with 10, 20 of our friends that we knew. But this was literally a week or two later. And why I bring this story up is because when we were doing that next event with Donn, which again was a week or two later, I'm looking at my investment accounts, and as we're there with Donn, literally the most money I've ever made in my entire life in one single day. And then more of a broad spectrum after, like a year or so after Donn, I went from most having $5,000-$10,000 of investments are in my bank account. And the very next year after Donn, I became a millionaire at the age of 22 years old. So yeah, again, my biggest thing was just the personal respect on myself to actually be able to keep and hold the money, feeling that self-worth to actually physically be in possession of the money that I always envisioned. And that was my biggest thing with Donn. But outside of money is just a piece of paper at the end of the day. But I also like to share some other stories of friends and family that we brought to Donn. So again, my good buddy, he brought his mom to the event, who was an alcoholic for over 10 years. And if anyone knows substance abuse, alcoholism, whatever the substance is, it's not just boom, you're done. But literally the day after she went to Donn, she was no longer an alcoholic for months and months and months. And then there was another girl that we brought there, and she was full-on schizophrenia, had multiple medications from multiple different doctors, tried everything from the traditional health world to the natural health worlds of plants, etc. Same story with her. A week after Donn, completely off of every single pill that she was on for her schizophrenia, all of her visuals and talking in her head gone. So that was the two cases of alcoholic and a schizophrenic. And then more so again on the success side of things, we brought two different artists there, musicians, rappers. And these rappers, it would take them 6 months, a year to write one song. After their process with Donn, we came back the next week to have the second follow-up session with them. And these two rappers, instead of creating a song in 6 months, a year, they created a whole album in a week. So yeah, I mean, everybody in their life is totally different from what they struggle with, whether that be financial, whether that be business, whether that be addictions to substances, whatever the case may be. But yeah, I most definitely, Jamie's seen a full, broad spectrum of everything that Donn did on our side for our people.
Wow, Josh, man, yeah. We have so many, like dozens and dozens of those examples. And I can just imagine the people that have no idea what we're talking about are sitting there being like, yeah, fucking right. Right now. How in the heck could any of this be possible? Especially if you've been in the traditional model like I was for, almost a couple decades, where, you may be seeing a little tiny spike of improvement, and you got to do the next program and the next program and the next program, and it's never ending. But I know a few of you on the call that are like, yes, this is what I've been waiting for. This is, I'm ready. So That's definitely who we're talking to. I'm going to bring Donn in and let him share. There's just so much. We could be here literally for the next 12 hours, and surprised how excited and awake I am. It's 5 a.m. here in Philippines. So this is not my prime time, but here we are. I literally have nothing else to say. I'm just going to let you guys experience Donn. This is going to be an introduction, just to meet him and hear what he has to say. And then we'll set up something official so that those of you that are ready will be able to do the program with Donn. And he's worked with, as I mentioned, all walks of life. When I met him, he was at the point where he was working with just the elite. We're talking professional sports athletes and high-level C-class CEOs. He worked with the at the time the biggest company in Canada, which was Research in Motion, who made the BlackBerry, and he has all sorts of stories working with the co-CEOs there for 7 years. So he and again, like, no matter where they came from, what the problem is, he is able to shift it just so quickly. So that's his gift. I'm honored to have him here and really introduce all of you to him. So I'll let him take it away now, and we'll figure out an opportunity of all of us to work together on it. The one thing I want to mention before he comes on with us going through the program, normally it's thousands of dollars each in a group, and tens of thousands if you're to work with them one-on-one. Obviously, we've gotten very close, and he's been watching what's happened with this community. And because we've gone through this hard time as a community, we really want to open this up to everyone and make it accessible. So as long as you're ready, you'll be able to access it. We won't be able to do that forever, but it's just for this transition period of all of you pioneers that have been through so much with us. Just want to give this gift back to you, and it's definitely something much more valuable and than the money programs, and way more priceless than us just trading and making you some money, So anyway, I'll bring them up, and thank you guys all for being here. It's your turn. I don't think you need to say anything. But
Well, I gotta say one thing. Jamie kind of forgot about one little thing he didn't mention. This buddy here, he was a narcissist.
I was a
Okay.
narcissist, yeah.
And that is the toughest, deepest rooted system that I've run into. And he had it in spades. So anyway, that was
Well, tell him I was the first one to overcome it.
yeah, yes, he was. He was. I will admit that. Yeah, for sure. So anyway, it's been a fun ride with the time that I have spent with Jamie. And yes, I've worked with just about any class you would want to mention. I could go on and on with the stories. So yeah, it's been a fun ride. And yes, on December 31st, midnight, it will be 44 years that I've delved into moving forward and getting out of my multiple addictions and codependencies and phobias and whatever. So I'd like to start asking you a couple of questions to make it at least a little more sensible. And like Jamie talked about, the word ineffable is the word that describes the undescribable. And so what that is there's a levels of consciousness. It's from like 10 to 1,000. And the mass consciousness is at 210 out of 1,000. And what I'm talking about is from 700 to 1,000. That's where we need to be. It is literally can be done in minutes and seconds. So how is that possible? Does anybody on the call have a phobia of anything? Does anybody have a phobia? Anybody have a phobia, an intense fear of something? I know there has to be. Guaranteed. Okay, we got a few heads shaking. Now, my question is this. First of all, what's the phobia?
Heights.
I'm sorry?
Snake heights, claustrophobia, falling.
Yeah, they're
all saying it in the.
Oh, I see. Okay, got it. And so my question is this. How long have you had it? Just put a number there. How long have you had your phobia? Whatever that is. So 10 years, most of my life, 40 years, as a child, 53 years. Okay. How long did it take to create the phobia? I'm waiting. How long did it take to create the phobia?
Someone said minutes.
Minutes? That's too long.
Instant.
Oh, who said instant? Okay, that's what it is. I don't care if you had it for 40 years. Does not matter. How long did it take to create it? Is what I'm asking you. So time is a moment. It's actually 1 second. Now, would you agree? And most phobias or before the age of reason, between age 4 and 5, somewhere, whatever that is. It's not how long you had it, it's how long it took to create it. And the question is, what age were you did that? Now, here's what you did, and I'm just going to pick the number 5, just for a sec, okay? So at age 5, something happened. It was a boom, shock, and you repeated that consistently for the rest of your life. But the key is this: it took you 1 second to create it. So why would it take 20, 30, 40, 50 years to get rid of it? Especially if you knew how you created it. So doesn't it make sense that if a 5-year-old, I'll say 5-year young, sorry, I don't use old anymore, 5-year young, okay, I don't do age. Just the other day, a guy, Davey, that Jamie and I met, was it 2 years ago, Jamie? I said, oh my God, Donn, you got 20 years younger than the last time I saw you, okay? So I don't do age in any way, shape, or form. Somebody asked me my age, I said forever young, boom, that's it. So coming back, imagine a 5-year young person, child, having the power to create a phobia and have it for 40 or 50 years. Like, how crazy does that sound? And yet you're all in bewilderment how you could get rid of it that fast. Now, doesn't it make sense that if you created it at 5 and kept it for 20, 30, 40 years, that you knew how to create it when you created it at 5? So doesn't it make sense that if you knew how you did that, you could reverse it? How quickly? Has anybody got the answer? Does anybody have that answer? Instant. Correct. So when the Joshes and the Jamies and the Wills and the, whoever's, Nicholases on the call are saying it was instant, it was. Now here's where it comes. There's I forget what the name of the company is, but they make puzzles. They're from Germany. And there was a puzzle that they made was 40,000 pieces. Imagine putting together a 40,000 piece puzzle, okay? Well, a lady did it in the States. It took her a whole year to put this puzzle together. But imagine putting that puzzle together and finding out there was one piece missing. How crazy would that be? To spend all that time, a whole year putting a puzzle together. Oh my God, there's one piece missing. One piece. Well, that 44 years coming December 31st is me figuring out all those pieces and seeing where they all fit. Now, whether it's Pippi or Daniel or Joseph or Tracy or Tiffany or Will or it doesn't matter who that person is. Kind of like Nicholas, the last guy that I work with. Here's all these pieces. Yeah, I do this and I do this and I got this and this is happening and that's over here and this and that and that and that. And all this is this big puzzle. And I'm saying, well, you got Leonardo da Vinci's arm is you got his right eye on his left knee. And that's why this puzzle doesn't work right. So it's like, how does that work? And so what I'm able to do is see all of these pieces. And I don't need a bunch of stories. I don't need a bunch of stories. I'll let you I'll let you away with 1 or 2 quick ones, maybe at the most, but it all shows up in a questionnaire I send you. And in that questionnaire, it's like, here's what's going on with my love. Here's what's going on with my worth. Here's what's going on with my safety. Here's what's going on with my freedom. And there's all of these pieces that don't fit. None of them, there's big gaps everywhere. And so what I'm able to do is quickly put this together and say, okay, that's the piece that's missing over there. It needs to be over here. And this is here. And why are you doing that? Because there's always a positive intention, no matter how toxic it is. No matter how toxic your program and pattern is, there is a positive intention behind it. You're trying to get something that doesn't work. You're trying to get something, and the way you're doing it doesn't work, and you just keep doing the same thing over and over and over. Does that sound familiar? Does it? And that's what I'm talking about. And so it just keeps happening. And so what I've been able to do is unpack Donn. I unpacked Donn over a long period of time. And yes, I practiced on people. Like Jamie said, I work with serial rapists, armed robbers, and murderers. I work with a 5-year young with Rubinstein-Tabby syndrome. I never even heard of the words, let alone I'm an expert in removing Rubinstein-Tabby syndrome. And what was happening, I was working with the young fella's father and a wife, mother, the husband and wife. And he had a 30-second attention span and could only say 5 words. This is five years of age, okay? And what was happening was he used to like just be crying and crying and crying and crying. And when I come in and we were chatting, all of a sudden he wasn't crying. And so his mother asked me if I would work with him. I said, come on, like I know, like I don't know, like this is I don't know where to start. John, just do it, just do it. I said, okay, okay. And so I did. I worked with this 5-year young little boy. 10 days later, he only had a 5-second attention span. I had come back for an update with the parents, and I did work with the father, and it was 2 hours and 20 minutes. That little boy sat with his mom on the couch for 2 hours and 20 minutes, and he never budged. And he recited the alphabet. Never even heard of the words Rubinstein-Tabs. So I don't deal with symptoms. I don't care what they are. I don't care how deep rooted they are, because it's all a bunch of bullshit, okay? Ways to explain why they can't do something that works other than give pills. And what this is about is being very honest with yourself. Now I'm going to use another metaphor. Raise your hand if you've ever driven a vehicle. Raise your hand if you've ever driven a vehicle. Pretty well everybody. So my question is, how did that all happen? Like, how did you start the vehicle? Am I correct that it was a key? The traditional model is working on the engine of the vehicle. We're working on the engine. Something's wrong with the engine. It's not working right. It's doing this, it's doing that. And it just, like Jamie said, you just go back to you try another mechanic and you try this and you get another car and it's doing the same and la. Well, I don't work on the engine. I neurologically and cellularly reprogram the key. That's what I do. Once I get enough information, that's all I need. I know where to go because you have left a trail. You have left a trail of all of these programs and patterns. Like Nicholas said, I had all of these here, there they are, the pages of these programs and patterns. And yet, what if it was one piece, one single piece that was driving them all? And when Michelangelo was asked how he created such a magnificent statue as David, he said it was simple. All I did was carve away all the marble that wasn't David. Did you hear what I just said? That wasn't David. That's what I do. Carve away all of your toxic beliefs. Listen to these words I'm about to say. Your negative beliefs about you and your world, and your positive beliefs about you and your world. Did you hear that? Both negative and positive beliefs. And the traditional model is, like Jamie said, yeah, you go back for more, and you go back for more, and you go back for more, and you go back for more. Why? Because they're taking you from the negative beliefs to the positive beliefs, and you can't hold them, and they just start all over again. And I get rid of that positive, negative belief, and then another one shows up, and then another one shows up, and it never ends. The only thing that ends is your wallet, because you can't afford to do it anymore. That's the difference. And what I'm talking about is reprogramming the key, neurologically and cellular. And it's got nothing whatsoever to do with intellect. I only use the intellect to get the information to draw this picture that you're looking at. That's it. That's it. And then I trace it neurologically to that instant. And I'll share a little personal story. I grew up, I had 6 sisters. First of all, imagine having 6 sisters. Just imagine that. And 3 of them, one after the other. So there was a boy, there was a girl, then a boy, and then 3 girls, and then me. Well, I was the doll. Like they didn't have to buy a doll. I was the doll. Got me dressed up, all of that. Okay, so I know all about the feminine energy intimately. And anyway, so I was very insecure. There was 10 of us. There was 2 more girls and another boy, so there was 10 of us. And we grew up in the country on Prince Edward Island. There was 8 communities that went to the same church and school, that kind of thing. And we were the second poorest family in that whole community of 8 communities. We were the second poorest. Dad, an alcoholic. He hardly made it home from Bay Day without getting drunk and drinking it all. And mom trying to put it all together with the making bread and yeah. So anyway, I was very insecure, incredibly insecure. And I had a blanket, a security blanket. And what do you know? It was pink in color, and I called it Pinky. Okay. And so when I was 3 and we lived out in the country, if anybody's ever been to Prince Edward Island, you know how red the soil is. So you could imagine what my pinky looked like, dragging it around indoors and outdoors. And so what happened was my mom, she was this stern, we're doing it this way. And that's the way we did it. And whatever that was. So at age 3, my blanket was such tethered and tall, like just everything. So mom, unbeknownst to me, hid it on me. She hid it. And for 9 months, I just walked around in a daze. Where's Pinky? Where's Pinky? Okay. And one day I'm rooting in this old closet. You know, the one where they put the old mops and the brooms and this and that you'll never use for another eternity, but you can't throw it out because there's such scarcity. Okay. You got to keep it in case you need it. And guess what I found? I found Pinky. Now, we had an old house. It was the kitchen and dining room were just separated by an archway. So it was big. It was big. And I come out of that closet with every ounce of energy at 3 years, 9 months young could possibly muster. Yeah, found Pinky. And I'm just going around the kitchen and dining room, just going around. I went around once. I went around twice, just like, Roy Rogers on his horse. Woo-hoo! Okay. And then mom just jumps up off of the chair. She's over here with 2 or 3 of my brothers and sisters. She just jumps up off the chair, puts her hands on my shoulders, stops me in the tray, grabs the blanket out of my hand, tore it in shreds and threw it in the stove. It was all over in seconds. Well, that was a repeat for, let me see, that would be 26 years repeating that pattern. Just kept going, kept going. Soon as I'd get something, soon as I would make a deal, soon as this beautiful thing would happen, boom, it was gone. Boom, it was gone. Wow, how is this happening? Like Will and Josh and Nicholas and Jamie had mentioned, like these programs and patterns. And that's what you're doing. You're in these programs and patterns, and good luck with your money with those programs, because something's going to give. And what will give will be your program kicking in at a certain level. At a certain level. Yeah, it used to be here, but now I got it here. It's like, yeah, well, what if it's meant to be here? And that's what this is about, is finding those toxic programs. And anybody that has a phobia, all that is a more intense one. That's the only difference. But everybody's got these programs and patterns that are neurological in their creation. They are not intellectual. Good luck. It'll take you 150 lifetimes to change that intellectually. That's how it works. And so it's taking that 40,000 piece puzzle, finding the one that started it all, and pulling it out and lancing it like an emotional boil. Go! And it's gone as fast as it was created. 1 second. The only thing that takes the 2 hours or hour and a half or 2.5 hours is putting that puzzle together. So you can see it. It's no good me seeing it. You need to see it. And like Nicholas mentioned, how this one's connected to this, and how this is connected to this, and how this is connected, like Jamie mentioned, the addictions. I had one, he was a billionaire. He was in Toronto. He flew out to Vancouver to see me. He had 5 addictions: alcohol, drugs, food, gambling, and sex. Boom, middle of a divorce. Hadn't flown his private jet for 6 months. That was him. He landed on Friday. I worked with him and his wife on Friday. On Saturday, his addictions were gone. I golfed with him. 15 months later, no trace of any of those 5 addictions. Tell that to an addiction rehab center, okay? Within a week, he was flying his private jet. Like all of these things. Saved a co-CEO $615 million in 6 minutes, okay? That's what I'm saying. Now, what I'm also saying, in case you didn't get it, that's how powerful you are. That's how powerful you are. Imagine you finding that most powerful moment where magic happened, a miracle happened. You know, I was up in the Pacific Northwest. I was going with this young lady, and she lived in the absolute wilderness. It was hard to get any further from the point where she was, in this little village of 14, I think it was in total. And she lived there. She built a log cabin with a how-to book and a 14-inch chainsaw, just to give you an idea. And what had happened was she had a little 15-foot runabout. And we were going to find these people that had a stick for all these movies, because we were movie buffs. And so we were going to find her. We were going to go down this stream where there was waterfalls and everything. And we came around this point, and here was this wall of rain. When I say wall, you think of the tallest building you ever saw. Just think of it, okay? Imagine that coming at you like this, straight like this. Boom. It was coming at us at lightning speed. And she got on the call, or radio, to call these people. And they said, don't come down. You can't see. Like the wall, it's a wall of rain. And what it was as wide as you could see and as high as you could see. Wall of rain, okay? And here it's coming at us at lightning speed. She had already talked to them, and it was still coming rapidly. And she had this small boat she had. It was 16 feet, but it had no roof. And she said, oh my God, we're going to get drenched. And by this time, it was 200 feet away. It's wide and as high as you could see. Solid walls. And we don't have any rain gear. By this time now, it's about 2 boat lengths away. I said, don't worry, Nikki, I got it covered. I went, instantly, the rain stopped. Within 3 minutes, there wasn't a cloud in the sky. 3 minutes. It's gone. You realize you have that same power, and you're screwing around, mucking around in the garbage dump, not being who you are. That's what this is about. Finding out who you are and then living in it. And what these guys have already mentioned, that's when you stand in that power and create things that are beyond human comprehension, because you are doing the beliefs thing and we're doing the knowing. And there you have it. That's what'll happen if you allow the process to work with honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. That's what's needed for you to bring to the table for this to work, because it's not me doing it. It is me showing you how you can do it. Okay? So there you go.
Hello, Donn. Thank you very much for sharing. How long have you, or do you call this a gift? And how long have you been walking in this?
Just 44 years, Christmas Eve, December 31st. And it took a bunch of programs. You know, I worked in addictions for 10 years. Worked with corrections for 4 years. I was in Alcoholics Anonymous for 10 years, those kind of things. I was doing the traditional, like Jamie was saying, the traditional models of changing beliefs and they're gone, and changing them again and they're gone, and the same ones come back, or the different ones are started, or whatever. And it was a hit and miss. That's why it took me 44 years, because I was my own guinea pig. I was it. And if it didn't work for me, I didn't use it. It had to work for me to use that piece. And then when I got the piece, then where did that fit in relationship to other pieces I already was putting it together? And it wasn't until, yeah. So, yeah, I was definitely my own guinea pig. And lots of times clients. It's like, how come that didn't work with Charlie and it worked with Sally? What's going on there? You know, but I keep getting surprised. I remember She was 35. Her name was Janessa, and she had spent more time in the hospital than out in the last year. Over half of her life that year was in the hospital for various things. And somebody convinced me to work with her. And so I did. Took us 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 20 minutes, actually. And when we were finished, I said, so Janessa, what'd you notice? Oh my God, Donn, it's gone. Like, what's gone? You never told me something about whatever that what was. And she said, I had a bulge the size of my fist on my stomach wall. And she went like this and said, look, it's gone. 2 hours and 20 minutes. I didn't even know she had it, let alone be the expert at, this growth is this. And so I have to do this. Okay, wasn't that at all. And in the next year, she went to the hospital 1 day for tests. How crazy is that? And what I'm telling you this is how powerful you are in your light. And this is how toxic and weak you are not in your light. Whatever those symptoms are, physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, religious, whatever they are, that's what's going on, okay?
This is Kimberly, and I was a victim of profound child abuse. And my first 3 boyfriends, they hit me or whatever. Anyways, I climbed over all of that with a model of what you're talking about, and with a simple, like a series of decisions. And I just wanted to say, if there was anybody listening that unfortunately had the kind of childhood that I had, which was horrific in every sense of the word, that it is possible to follow what you're saying and create actually joy and happiness that cannot be stolen from you. And you can just have it sustained while still immersed in the reality of the planet. Okay, so this is not like, fantasy, whatever. This is actually real life happiness that you could have by following what he's saying, because I've applied the philosophies and things that he's talking about. And I come from that kind of background, foster care, everything. It's horrific. And so don't lose hope. If you follow what he's saying, you can actually climb there, because that's what he's talking about, is how I climbed over all of it. So instant. Yes, it is. It's an instant decision. Unfortunately, if you have child abuse or whatever, maybe it's a couple of decisions that you shift and change, but you definitely will get there. And I just wanted to give that word of encouragement, and that even with the background that I have, you can do this.
Anyway, one of the things about this is that I'm not going to give you anything. I'm not going to give you anything. You don't need anything from me. Okay, what this is about is removing all of the beliefs, both negative and positive. And it's not an intellectual process at all. It's not. It's like, this is who I thought I was. This is who I truly am. And when I get into that truly am, that's where all the symptoms no longer exist. They can't coexist. So, okay, Richard?
Yeah, hi, thank you, Donn. 2 quick questions, I guess. First, I got the impression from listening to Jamie and Joshua and others that it was your sessions with them were just that, like one-on-one sessions and series of questions and whatnot, until you got to the point where everything was resolved or released, or this instantaneous improvement. What's your approach to helping any of us in this group of whatever it is, 50, 100, 500 people that would like to participate with you? Would it be in a group call like this, or individual questionnaires? Do we talk to you one-on-one, or whatever? So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, I obviously couldn't help notice that you're in a room with pink and purple background, and you and Jamie are both wearing your best pink satin outerwear. I mean, is there a group that you lead? Is there a name to your non-process, or could you just give me that much of an orientation?
First of all, it is I Am Divinity. It's the name of the process, okay? And pink and purples, everything I have is pink and purple. And it has to do with stages of enlightenment. And enlightenment's 700 to 1,000. And that's what those colors are. Even though I like pink and purples, it really is the depiction of the levels of consciousness at the higher levels, enlightenment actually. So as long as people are open and willing to follow me setting it up, I don't have to. Now, there's one thing, by doing it one-on-one, it's just more precise. That's all.
Well,
But there's this.
Let me follow up with that. When you say more precise, does that mean more effective? In other words, if we were to do this as a group, would we find or experience the same ultimate instantaneous release that Jamie and Joshua and others have been sharing? Or will it just move us further along the process, but not quite as far as if we were doing it one-on-one?
No, it's a process of going from this system of negative and positive beliefs of who you think you are to knowing of who you truly are.
Regardless of whether we do it one-on-one or in a group.
Yeah, I've worked with 100 people at a time.
Really grateful to see Donn coming out here in the community. Thank you for this, Jamie. And just maybe want to share also an extraordinary journey. That's what I've experienced. So it's a transformation that touched every angle of my life, one that I believe holds the potential to maybe inspire and resonate with each of you. So just want to tell a quick backstory. At first, I'm just an affiliate of Jamie. We sell EA trading bots way back 2018. Yeah. Then I became his virtual assistant, live in the same house here in the Philippines for almost 6 months. From that time, I did know Jamie slowly, watch he grow as an individual also. But I don't know from the time that I am embarking on a transformative journey with him that will alter my life profoundly. Before, my life was typical, just filled with routines and limitations on myself. But everything started to change when I knew more about Jamie's perspective in business and how he viewed life as a whole. I witnessed how Jamie also transformed in the past 5 or 6 years. And fast forward, Jamie introduced me to Donn. And I also worked with Donn on his social media stuff. He's not techie, so so I'm the one who also helped him do that. So time came that Jamie gave me the chance to undergo Donn's program. At first, I'm not really interested. But I'm curious because I'm seeing the changes on Jamie's life, character, aura, whatsoever. So I did a session with Donn online. First, it was online. And from then, my life turns 180. But there are scenarios because the ego will keep coming back, challenging you. Then there comes to a point that I was afraid to talk with Donn anymore. I don't want to update him because I think if I talk to him, there would be problem going at me, like challenging me. So pandemic comes and then incubation come again. Incubation was born. So I'm the first guy Jamie asked if I can work with him. So I said yes. And then the company grows, and it comes on a time that Jamie said we need to have a session with Donn with all our employees at that time. So we did another session in person here in our place. It's around 18 of us, all the employees. So we did the transformation. Then it kicks in, and I said to myself, this is it. So the changes that I have was conflict in my relationship transformed me into understanding and harmony. I gained clarity in abundance, understanding wealth, relationship, mindset, and what's most important is knowing who I am. Most significantly, I shattered self-imposed limitations, fears, ego, and embrace boundless possibilities. That transformation I had isn't just about change. For me, it's a continuous journey shaping how I approach life itself. So I'm excited and happy to be with this journey with you guys. And I really believe that this community will be blessed by life's abundance. Have a great day. Thank you.
My question is, when do we get started? And is there something that we need to be doing to prepare or prep ourselves? And how do we follow you on social media?
So number one, there's a quick funny when I was on my way to work with Donn. So as I told you, I'd done so much personal development. So it was all about, reading. It was all about the intellect. It was all about shifting from negative to positive, which was a endless journey. One of the things I found really funny when I showed up with Donn, he's like, your negative and positive beliefs are both toxic. What? How did that doesn't make any sense to me at all. Like, I've been chasing positive beliefs my whole life. What are you telling me? But I also asked him, how do I prepare? Like, what can I read? And, because that's what I was used to. And he goes, yeah, there's one thing you could do, not sleep. What? What are you talking about? Not sleep. So I was flying in from the Saturday night, staying over in the LAX on my way to Vancouver the Sunday morning to work with him an hour after I land. And so I was instead of going to the like a hotel near LAX, I was like, all right, I'm not going to sleep. So I'm sitting there all night awake in the LAX airport. I'm like, Donn, why did you ask me not to sleep? And he said, well, just imagine you're about to get into the ring with Muhammad Ali. You'd at least want to make sure he was, fresh. Okay, awesome. It ended up working really well because I didn't fight him at all. I had no energy too, right? So when the ego was coming up in my process, I just totally surrendered and submitted to the process because what am I going to do? I had no sleep, I had no energy to challenge him. So that was fun. But as far as moving forward for everyone, so what we're going to do, as I mentioned, we're just going to make it accessible for everyone. But we got to make a hard line here of who's not moving forward with us, because I know there's going to be a lot of those people. So the people that do choose to move forward with us in this new awakening community, we're gonna just honor whoever's a member. So if you're on the $49 level, you're in, okay? And we're gonna do the group process for everyone that's a new member. Then as far as preparing, we'll send out his questionnaire to all the members that are going to be on that call. Social media is Transform with Donn on his Instagram. He's got hundreds of 1-minute clips from all different subjects that you guys can digest as well. That will help you prepare. Website too, transformwithdonn.com. For those of you, that's for the one-on-ones. For those of you that want to do that, maybe after the group, if you want to have a one-on-one with Donn, but that will be separate, and we'll get to that after we do this. We're going to include anyone that becomes a new member. So I know there's going to be pioneers that don't agree with our vision moving forward. And so we just need to kind of make a...
Real quickly, would you mind repeating that? Transformwithdonn.com?
Transformwithdonn.com, yeah. And then his social media on Instagram is @transformwithdonn.
Yeah, I had a few interesting experiences. Initially, I did it with I went through the process with my girlfriend when we were moving from New York to Florida. She was in Florida. At the time, I was in New York, and I fully took to it. Problem was she didn't pay attention or something and didn't take at all. And then when we met up, I lost my, whatever you want to call it, divinity or my light because of, well, not to make excuses. I mean, I didn't keep up with it. We'll just keep it at that. Okay. And then I guess it was 4 months later, I went back through it. So the feeling that I felt was peace and ease, no awkwardness that I didn't really necessarily want to talk to, but it didn't come through my, facial expressions. I would just kindly tell him, oh yeah, hey, I got to go this way. It wasn't awkward though, like usual. I was always kind of awkward in certain situations. So that kind of left me. And then I noticed one day I was walking in a grocery store and I was making eye contact with people in a different way than I've ever done. Not in an awkward way where I would stare at people. It was an interesting experience because that happened for about 30 days and it was strong. I was connected. I guess the best way to explain it was I was connected with everybody all around me all the time, even if they were in a state of panic or emergency, or I just found my way through navigating those situations, whether it was just bumping into somebody or deep conversations. Here I am, I don't know, it's a year later, and I've been completely disconnected, to be perfectly honest. And, you know, all those things are back, and I've had glimpses here and there of that light that I had by going through the process. And yeah, so, you know, the interesting thing about it is that the ego comes back so strong, and it's these decisions, or it's not decisions, but it's these flares of extreme uncomfortability followed by disbelief in whatever is going to help me. So perfect example, you know, one thing that throws me off is other people's opinions, and that's what I've been kind of up against. That's what I kind of go back to and struggle with. But I'm actually looking forward to going through this process again, because I know that it's real. And there's been, you know, 30 days, there's been 30-day timeframes, 2 separate occasions where I was completely unstoppable. No one could tell me no. If they did, I didn't believe them. It wasn't like, oh, wow, they said I can't do something. It was like, I just simply didn't believe them. Right. And when you're, you know, I don't know if I don't think I'm a people pleaser, but by going through this process, I realized that there is an aspect of, I guess, I know me and probably all of us that want to get along with people. We don't want to argue with people. But there's this third option that it doesn't have to be an argument. We can be honest and upfront with people and explain to them, even where they're not understanding what we're saying, where we're okay because we're complete with the words that we're saying, and we know who we are. So I've been floating in between that, and you know,
Good.
by just
Here or
talking
there?
about it, honestly,
I'll just do the Washington.
Hey, Ryan, you got to mute yourself. Sorry, Jordan.
so by just the cool thing about this is that by talking about it and bringing it up and having this whatever conversation, I'm accessing that same feeling that I had. And you know, that's all I have to say. Like, I can't explain that part, because if you're on the call and you know what the feeling is, like in your chest, where you know who you are completely, nothing matters as far as what other people think about you, because you know deep down who you are and what you're trying to do, just in general with your life, whatever, or your intentions. So yeah, so that just came back for me, actually, and that's pretty cool. But last thing I just want to say is that there's been this thing where I've been hiding from Donn and Jamie in a way, right? Where I want to have a conversation, but I'll reach out in a way where they're probably not going to answer, or if they do answer, it's a few days later through certain streams or channels. And that's kind of been on purpose, because I don't want to confront this idea that I'm not living up to the best of my ability. And so anyway, whatever. I feel like I'm one-on-one with these guys right now, and there's not 105 people on the call. But yeah, so that's it. I'm going to stop there.
I have one more thing to add. There was somebody mentioned about how a positive belief's negative. I'm going to ask all of you if you know the color of your eyes. How many know the color of your eyes? Would it be fair to say that everybody knows the color of your eyes? Is everybody good with that? Okay. How long have they been that color? Any idea?
Always.
Yes. Okay. So listen to this. Color of my eyes. In my case, my eyes are blue. My eyes were always blue. There's no negative. They weren't blue one day and I was really good the next day, because they became bluer. That's what this negative and positive beliefs are. No, my eyes are blue. They always were blue. They are blue, and they're going to be blue. Okay? That's a knowing. It's not a belief. It's not a belief. And the beliefs you have, whether I'm not good enough and I am good enough, I'm not loved, I am loved, I'm not loved, whatever those are, and there's a million of them, they are both negative and positive, are limiting beliefs. That's it. The knowing is who you are, the color of your eyes. There you go.
Awesome. Well, if you're still with us, congratulations. I know when I first connected with Donn before I went through the process, I could see him saying words but I didn't understand any of them. I was just like he was saying, a knowing. It was such a knowing that I needed to go through his program, that he had what I was searching for all those years. But it was really hard for me to comprehend what he was saying from that intellectual level. So anyway, I'm really excited for those of you that choose to move forward with us and that are ready for this. Super exciting. We got really exciting stuff happening on the currency side, but it just feels like so compared to what we're talking about on this call today. So I'll leave that for another call, some updates there, but really appreciate all of you being here. Those of you know who you are that want to move forward with us and be a part of this transforming community. I'll let Donn share his true mission and some deeper stuff with the people that actually move forward with us. We don't want to scare too many people away, but thank you all for all the support that you've had up until now with the community, and just being open and ready to do this with us. We're all in this together, so it's going to be very powerful to have all of us on this same page. As Will mentioned, one of the first things as we were growing, I said was, you guys, we all need to get on the program with Donn, and the especially the people that came into the core circle. It was like, I had to tell a couple certain individuals that if you don't get on that same level, we're not going to be able to fly together. It's just not going to be possible for us to go where we need to go, especially in the internal. So that's where we left it up until now, which is super awesome that we're bringing it to everyone. It's going to be really powerful. So thanks for being with us. We'll send out the recording. For those of you that want to move forward that haven't yet, ask the person that connected you for their link. Everyone's link to connect into the new membership and community is in your back office of Post Affiliate Pro. So you can share that with whoever you think is ready and willing to be up for the challenge and journey with us. And as always, we'll support you 100%. Just let us know if you need anything.
One quick question. So this process, this journey that you're alluding to, we're going to do a group thing, those of us who want to participate. The questionnaire comes, then we get together sometime next week. And is that like a finite process, or are we going to be offered an option to continue on beyond that into some other level of process or explanation or whatever?
Yeah, so we're still working out those details, but it will be as we all obviously want to stay on the journey together as a community. We'll have some type of holding of the process. So the first process, you're going to get all the results. The program is 100% there, and then we'll do something like once a month where it's like a holding for the people that have already gone through the process, and that will be ongoing. So we're working out those details, but yeah, you'll be 100% supported no matter what moving forward.
We can still, whether we choose to participate one time or continue on, would still be able to continue with information on the currency side if we choose not to participate on the consciousness side, at least in an ongoing way.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, awesome, Richard. Thanks for clarifying. Valerie, it looks like you got one question before we let everyone go. Go ahead.
Actually, I think I was trying to figure out how to put my hand down, and I'm not sure how to do that. I'm very grateful for this. I really want to do the membership, but we are part of the Pioneer Group Fund. And because of, the decision that we made to do this, which we're very grateful to do information, it's just a little challenging financially for us. So I know this is doing this with Donn will help that end of things, but it's kind of like, how do I explain it? I guess it's a faith decision. I guess that would be what it is. Huh?
Pretty well. I will say that the ego will do everything it can to find out as many reasons why you don't take this. There were things that you heard that spoke to your heart. That's what you follow.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Valerie. Okay, everyone.
I would have a question. I think my sponsor is no longer with Information, and I want to move forward, and I'm not sure who I can speak to for that. Like how, I don't know how to go about it. Can I speak to someone in the information room? I'm in the A-team room.
Yeah,
Who could I speak to for that?
that's a great question to clarify. So for those of you that, for whatever reason, can't get a hold of the person that connected you, right now it's on incomation.com. So just go to incomation.com. You can go through that portal. We're still going to have whoever connected you tied to you. So we've done a update of all the emails, and we just connect the emails of whoever sponsored you in the beginning. So we'll do it on our end. If they're not around, if they don't get you the affiliate link to move forward, that's okay. Just go direct to the main website and we'll handle it on our end. Okay, we'll keep you updated. Thanks so much for being here, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.